Well, it has been a very eventful last few weeks. Oh man, one thing after another, which is fine. And like not bad things per se. So, this new thought in my brain is like as it or no, it goes on. My daughter says it all the time. Oh, and we go on. And I was talking to my friend about that too the other day. Like, you have so much going on, and sometimes you save some stuff till tomorrow, which is fine. But then tomorrow comes, and that stuff that you saved is just added on to tomorrow's stuff, and sometimes it just gets a little conjumbled. And that's okay, because that is life, right? Life just happens. It happens, and it's a happening, and there's no stopping the happening, um, you know, within parameters. But we're not going to go there. We are going to talk about the gratitude of the last couple of weeks and the compassion. So I have a lot of gratitude for learning what I've learned and for the people that have crossed my path and for friends and family, of course, but definitely the new people that have crossed the path in this last couple of weeks, because we've dealt with a lot of specialty people. Not special people, but specialty people, people that work in special spaces, like very refined, defined spaces. And these people have a label. So, like, I'm a mother, and I have a label. I'm a mother, right? I have children. My children live with me. We, cohabitate. We have a system. We make it work, and it's great. So my label is mother. And these people have labels too. And it just put that spectrum in, right? Like, just because you have this label and you may have trained or not trained in it for a long time, whatever your experience level is, but whatever, you have this label, people have this label, and it doesn't always mean that they're going to be, at the very top of the spectrum or whatever. When I say that, it's like there are people that follow their passion and follow their passion passionately and are very open to it. And then there are people that follow their passion but then lose steam in their passion or what have you and can't seem to find that steam, and it just becomes like a comfortable autopilot, the norm, whatever. Like, okay, quit pussyfooting around this. Let's take an example, because like there's teachers, there's doctors, there's lawyers, there's, like I said, mothers, pilots. Pick a label of a job, and there's like 1,000 people, more than that, but 1,000 people that work in that job, and each person is different. Like, watching movies about pilots from the 80s, or like documentaries about pilots from like the 80s or the 60s or the 70s, and they're all like whacked out on coke flying people around the world, like that, to me, yeah, that's kind of ballsy to be playing with that many people's lives, but making it through nonetheless. Like, you never know what a person is up to or what a person is on. Like, there are so many like people out there in certain fields that live a lifestyle that just does not jive usually with, like, they're not practicing what they're preaching, right, to a point. And then there are those that do practice but are not willing to look in curious spaces. You know what I mean? So what it all boils down to, and where I'm finding the compassion space, is that we are all just human, trying to make our way, trying to do our thing, trying to feel comfortable in our own skin. And that's kind of a segue into the main reason why I wanted these thoughts out today, was because there was a channel about feeling comfortable in your own skin with things that you're saying. Like, there's feeling comfortable in your own skin regardless. Like, I've been in spaces where I'm not talking to myself about things. Life is just happening around me, and because things have piled up, I like literally want to rip off my skin. Like, it doesn't feel good to be in my body, or that skin to be on my body. It was just really bad place happening. And then once things started to calm down and a person started working on themselves and started pulling themselves back into their body and grounding in more, and then feeling into what a person was saying, like the verbiage. So they say a lot about, like, you got to talk nicely to yourself. Sometimes this is going to sound weird, but sometimes you can't. You know, like, sometimes when you are in a space of, like, pain, anger, grief, and you're in that space so deeply that it is literally, like, sickening or physically to your guts, like, bringing tears to your eyes, you cannot say these things. Like, ooh, good example, when I was younger, like 15, there was a time in life, of course, my teen angsty self, and I didn't get along with my parents, and one of my parents was, like, really adamant about putting love on Christmas tags and birthday tags, like, to so-and-so, love, cross out from, and put love, which is very endearing. And when I was little, like a little kid, I loved that. But then when I became angry and angsty as a teen, I really didn't. Like, I liked to see it from them for, well, myself and other people. But when it came to me writing on these tags, I either left it at from, or I would change love to LUV just to satisfy, be like, look, I put love there. And the reason I did that was because LOVE, love, to me meant something totally, like, it was a feeling that I was not attaining at that time. And I try to be as honest and authentic of a person as I can be, as, you know, often as I can be. And at that time, to say LOVE to someone that I didn't LOVE just didn't feel right. It didn't sit right in my stomach. It didn't taste right in my mouth. So to bypass that feeling, to get into another feeling that I could express, it was like, okay, I love you, LUV, because that's like an extreme, like, well, not an extreme, like, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, I like you. You're in my circle of weirdness. This is where my love line is. There, right? And that being said, and just a realization here and now, like, that is because I didn't love myself either, right? I couldn't at the time, not that it even crossed my mind to tell myself to love myself, because I can honestly say, like, out of all the hype man and confidence building that I wanted, like, to express and give out to friends and family, because I did try to hype other people up all the time. I'm like, oh, yeah, no. And I tried to do that for myself too, but there was very little times that I would try and, like, actually actively say I love you to myself and try and feel it and, like, mean it and feel it, until over, like, this last couple years, I'm gonna say between 2020 and now, it has literally been a practice. And it started off really painfully. In 2020, it was at a space where I could not say it, but I wanted to at some point. So thus began the practice. I had to hear it first, and then I had to feel, sit in it and feel comfortable about it for a moment, and then, say it and put it out there. And even today, it's not as charged as, like, say, last year. Had I tried to say I love myself last year, I could get the words out, and I believed it to a point, but it still wasn't, like, embodied, embedded. Whereas this year, it feels way more embodied, embedded, because I allow myself to feel feelings that I didn't want to feel before. That makes sense. So, like, there was a time that I had trained myself to be all right with feeling embarrassed, or, put the strength card up where it was needed. But when you, again, are balancing so many spinning dishes, you know, we start off young life, like, you know, balancing one of those spinny dishes on a stick. And then next thing you got your 2, and then you got like your 4 and your 6 and your 8. And next thing you know, you got 13 and a chainsaw and a goldfish and everything's on fire. And then it all just crashes and burns. And then you have to kind of stop sometimes and take a breath and analyze the situation, maybe get a little upset about it for a moment and kick a goldfish bowl. Just joking. Some of us never want to spin plates again, and some of us want to try it again. But you can't just pick up all the sticks and all the broken pieces and all the fish and just throw it back up in the air. Sometimes you need new stuff. Sometimes you need to practice again. Sometimes, you know, you need that courage to do it again, right? Like before I started driving on my own, I got into a really big bad accident as a passenger, and it took everything out of me, and I was so anxious to be in a car as a passenger for the longest time, for like almost 2 years. And then something in me just flipped. I had a kid and I needed to have that independence again. So I challenged myself and grew that courage and that confidence in those spaces that were needed. So I live in a complex right now that is amazing. There's children everywhere, just free range doing their thing. It's lovely. Laughing, playing with bikes. Anyways, I digress. There have been pockets of time where one has not felt comfortable in their skin. And then there are pockets of time where someone does feel good in their skin and they are able to say the things that they are. And I'm just coming to this beautiful, compassionate space of gratitude now and understanding that both of those spaces are necessary and both of those spaces are sacred. They both have so much healing and wisdom within them, even though one space is dark and hard to be and hard to sit in. But if you can manage your way through it and learn and grow and adapt, and then maybe share your experience so that, you know, each one teach one, possibly. That's huge, 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 huge. Like both sides, we cannot lose in this life. That's another thing that I came down to. You cannot lose in this life. Even when shit is shitty, there is still, you can cherry pick some beautiful shit out of that, you know? But that's another discussion for another time. Thanks. Have a great day.